This early morning, I'm going to show you how to get some free plants. Let's get going. This is the very north side of the house, and it rarely gets any sun at all. There are some plants that are growing here, but they are not growing to their full potential because they don't have enough sunlight. I see irises, daylilies, and a couple bulb plants like narcissus and maybe some daffodils. And you can see it's all sand all around the house. So while they can survive, they're not going to thrive in a sandy soil with no sunshine. I was digging out the daylilies first. You can see their tubular portions that are under the ground. And this clump was so strong that my little spade didn't make it. It broke. So I'm going to dig them out carefully with the larger shovel and go from there. So this is a much easier way. You press your shovel a couple inches from the base of the plant, press down into the soil, pull back on the handle, and loosen gently. You can hear some popping. You can hear some snaps. That's okay. And you can see all the sand that they were growing into, trying to get down to the richer soil below. So I'm going to get these out and then show you what I do next. The next thing I'll do is gently shake them. And then I'm going to slice it apart in the middle here. So I'll have one on one side and two on the other. I'll shake all the soil off. You can see all the roots are down here. I'll shake all the soil off, add them to my collection bin, and then I'll put them in a better place. I'll be making my new raised beds the temporary holding area until I can find permanent homes. And this will fill the beds and decrease weeds and help the other plants grow as well. These were the daylilies I decided to keep. And then these are some bulbs that came out as well. So these may end up staying in the beds altogether, just to make it so beautiful. Because daylilies have these tubes, that's where they have their energy, most of their energy, and they're very, very forgiving. So I'll be able to plant these clustered together so I can pull them out probably all as one and put them in the correct area. And I also would remove the dead leaves usually. So in this one I've kind of pulled them away already. This one, because I accidentally got the leaves off, I'm just going to leave these dead leaves on so I know where it is. And this is going to regrow just fine. And then I have this huge clump, has to be divided up and cut back quite a bit, and go from there. Before I put them in their new spots, I'm also looking for weeds, because I don't want to transplant grasses and chickweed or dead nettle or whatever or creeping Charlie into the new bed. So I'm going to remove as many roots of weeds as I can find before I put them in the beds. The daylilies with many, many roots. See how it looks like a hand almost? Let's see. A hand grasping downward, a hand upright. So for this, I made a mound in the soil. I'm going to place it over the mound. Tuck these little guys in here, like that. Tuck all long roots inside too. And that way the bottom of the plant is resting on soil underneath, like you would a tree. And I'm just going to gently kind of crumble the soil. I call it tickling the soil with my fingers, just to keep it kind of loose. And I'm going to cover it all the way up again until there's any light portions of the plant, because that's how far it was growing out of the soil. Yeah. I'm not even going to firm it down because the soil is pretty moist already. I might shake it a little bit. That's about all. Okay. When I transplant these bulbs, I'm going to cover them up to the part that is white. I'm going to cover all of the white area. White means that was underground. So I'm going to come back here when I'm done in this bed. I'm going to make sure that all the white sections are covered because that's how the plant likes to grow. The bonus of being in this bed is that they're actually going to get, the leaves are actually going to get all the sun that they need to make energy, to make flowers and to continue on healthy, versus in that northern section where they got almost zero sun. Okay, next I'm going to get some baby irises here and all down this row. I'm going to get as many as I can. Normally when you transplant established irises, you're going to cut the leaf tips because you're digging out a lot of their roots as well. So you want to match what's on the top with what's on the bottom. But in this case, they're so small, they're not going to have very big root systems. So let's see how many I can get. Wow. I was super surprised. Most of these are very well established with lots of root system, but they don't have the sunlight the leaves need to give the energy to the plant to make more leaves and then to make more flowers. So for some of these I can put in the raised beds, and others I'm going to have to put in my new beds with the cone flowers and the other butterfly flowers. Okay, to make it a little easier on myself later on, I just made trenches, and then in the middle of the trenches I made mounds, because German bearded irises don't like to be planted very deep. They actually like to have this section above ground, just showing a little bit out of the soil, or they'll rot, and they can rot easily. Now they didn't rot in the sand because the water just drained right out. But in this kind of soil, this is sand, peat moss, and topsoil. Just plain old standard, what you see in the ground. This is more rich. It's going to hold its moisture better. So while this makes a great bed for just holding the transplants until I'm ready to go, this is not where they're going to live forever. Because when they go to live in their forever homes in the yard, I'm going to add compost into the hole and around the hole, probably a top dress with compost. In this case, I'm not going to be top dressing with compost because, again, they're not living here. They're just being held here till their permanent places are located. So what I did with some of those bigger ones is I just laid the main tuber along on top of the trench, kind of tucked the roots in. I might have to make this a little bigger, a little wider. Tuck these roots in so they'll all be covered with soil. Make sure they're not wrapped around each other. Kind of straightened out so they can get some nutrients and get water and get air. So I did that one like that. It looks like a beast. It looks like creatures. Kind of think of it like that. So this one, what does it look like? Kind of maybe like a lobster. So if you put the lobster body on top of that trench and make sure its antennae are spread out in the soil, I'll cover all those roots with very loose soil, and then I'll actually press those roots. I'll press the soil down on top of those roots to make sure that the plant's going to get what it needs and the roots are protected. Okay, remember I said that you want that fleshy part of the bulb down at the bottom of the irises exposed to the air so they don't rot. Well, one trick you can use is to place the stems on a slight angle in the ground, add soil underneath, and then cover the rest of the stem. And then as the rain comes, it's going to wash that away a little bit, but this tubule won't be sitting in wet soil. The last thing I'll do with all of these irises is I'm going to check the temperatures. If it's going to be below freezing, like in the 20s, then I might take just some loose leaves and put them as a mulch, and then I'll remove them as soon as it's going to warm up again. I also found a clump of tulips, so I dug that up in one fell swoop with a shovel, put them in this bucket. That was all the sand that fell off of them. But I moved them in a clump to this bed right here, the very first one. And the deer may eat them. They usually like tulips. But if I left them over there, for sure, my dog would eat them and trample on them. So they had no chance over there. and they have a little bit of a chance here. So let's see how they do. I'm also going to double check so you can see where the sand is. Right here, you can see the sand level. But I'm also going to make sure that there's no white stem showing, so that they can be at the same level as what they were growing over there. Then the very last clump I found that I rescued and had to remove grass from was a clump of what looks like narcissus. And I'm curious to see what they'll grow out to be, if they actually flower or not, since I haven't been here in the spring. I'm curious about the tulip color if they make it. I'm curious about what color irises they are, but I think it's going to be pretty beautiful. So everything here is deer proof, except for they'll probably munch a little on the daylilies, if not all of it. We'll see. And they may munch on the tulips. Although I'm trying to put these narcissus here first, so when a deer comes up to smell things, they touch it with their nose before they decide to eat it. And if they take a bite of this, they're like, "Oh, that tastes gross," and then they'll move away and they'll go for something else. So if they come up here to the irises, they might touch it with their nose and say, "Oh, that's pokey. I don't like that." Or if they try and take a chomp, they're like, "It's rubbery. It tastes gross. I don't want it." So these beds eventually will be filled with everything that is deer proof. But again, these are my temporary nurseries until I can find homes. So they're in a better spot than the very north side of a house. They need sunshine. These are all full sun plants. They all need sunshine in order for the leaves to make energy, to make more leaves and roots and flowers and seeds.
If you enjoyed this, share it with a friend and consider subscribing to the channel for more. Thanks so much for watching.